Hey guys, how are we tonight? Thanks for jumping on. I'm just going to wait 2 seconds, guys, for everyone to jump on. We've got a few participants logging in at the moment. Um, Jess Fleming is here with me tonight as well. She'll be handling the chat room, etc., for us. So we can get all your questions answered, which I do enjoy. Now, guys, apologies for last week. We had a bit of a technical issue. This is like the July/August workshop now. Yeah, apologies for last week if anyone was planning to attend and we didn't quite get online. Yeah, technical difficulties. I'm good with property, but technology is not I'm not the best with that. All righty. So let's get going, guys. Thanks again for watching tonight. Tonight, I'm talking about recycling equity, which is a big thing that I like to do on a regular basis, especially in the current fiscal climate we're in at the moment. But I am going to quickly just go through my normal quick introduction, guys. Let me share my screen here at the moment with my PowerPoint. Give me 2 seconds. All right, so here we go. All righty. Just let me get to the next bit. Sorry, guys. Oops. All right, so before we get started, of course, next month's workshop is the Tuesday, the 10th of September, 7:30 p.m. So we're sticking to Tuesday. As per usual, there was more people being able to watch on a Tuesday than what we were doing on a Saturday, 7:30. Now, this one's more about understanding income replacement. It does actually follow on a little bit from recycling equity, to be honest. But understanding income replacement next month, I'm going to be breaking down a little bit on how you work out your net income after things like school fees, mortgage, etc., how you work all that out, and how you basically work out how many properties you need to put in place to be able to replace that income pre-retirement and post-retirement, because you've got superannuation. Not everyone has super, but most people have some sort of super. But of course, super isn't always going to be enough. All right, but that's next month's workshop. Yeah, just a little bit of logistics here online. For those of you who don't know Zoom very well, we have a chat box down the bottom here for either a chat or a Q&A. Now, if you have a question, obviously I will have question time at the end. But if you have a question, whack it in this Q&A or put it in this chat box. I will see that, or Jess can bring it up if it's related to something I need to talk about straight away. But normally I can go back all through that and get all your questions. Yeah, see how we go from there. So if you guys don't know where that is, feel free to have a look. If you're not sure, you can't reach out actually because you don't know where it is. But yeah, see how you go. Now, for some people on tonight, I can see some names here I've never heard of before. We get a lot of people referring us to you. Sorry, start again. We get a lot of people refer to us to watch this, to see what we do. It could be from your accountant, could be from your financial planner, it could be from one of your friends as well. So the whole concept of tonight is, why are you watching? So perhaps you're interested in just creating some wealth with property, might want to have some sort of passive income stream depending on what age bracket you're in. And again, like I mentioned, your accountant, mortgage broker, even friend, etc., may have suggested to watch this to see what we do, which is exciting. I do like new people as well as existing guys and girls on here too. So in today's workshop, for the new people that are on, I'm going to quickly introduce who I am and what we do. I'm going to show about using our recycling equity strategy to accelerate your portfolio. I have got the top 3 reasons why I'm currently suggesting recycling equity for a lot of people. And then, of course, as part of those 3 reasons, I'm going to break down a real member case study for you guys as well, using the recycled equity strategy and how it's been able to work for these guys. All right. So Jesse's going to just chuck a quick link in the chat as well. So for those guys that are here today that have not seen us before, and at some point through the session tonight, you may want to jump on and have a quick chat with me. There is a 15-minute call link Jess is going to put into the chat. Feel free to click that, go straight through to my calendar to book in. And of course, disclaimer. This is the big one, guys. So my whole goal out of what I do is to unlock the knowledge of everybody that is interested in property and just show you guys what you can do. Now, what I show you tonight, what we talk about on a regular basis, may not suit you directly. So I always suggest to get independent advice before you're making any decisions moving forward with your money. It's very important, but like everything, I just want to create confidence in the marketplace that to take control of your finances. A lot of people don't do it. It's quite a high percentage of people that don't understand money. And I like to try and get some sort of knowledge in every household. All right, so let's get started.
Before we get started, sorry, I've just popped that link in the chat, but I just need you to make me a co-host quickly so everyone can see that. That's all.
Okay, hang on. There we go. Sorry, guys.
So I'll just pop the link in the chat for everyone.
Yeah, you're right. I think I've done that now, Jesso. Have I done that?
Perfect. Awesome.
No.
That's in there now for everyone.
No, too easy. Cool. Sorry about that, guys. With myself, so let's just quickly introduce myself. For those of you guys who do know me, sorry, it'll take 2 seconds. My name's Wayne Jessup. I'm a property investor, buyer's agent, and founder of The Property Bloke. I bought and sold and held more than 50 properties for myself and as many as 2,000 plus for my clients over the last 24 years. And I've been involved in over $300 million worth of property transactions. Now, when dealing with me, you need to know what I'm qualified for. So I'm a qualified property investment advisor. I have a diploma in financial planning, diploma in real estate, diploma in mortgage planning. I'm a buyer's agent and auctioneer in New South Wales. And of course, I hold real estate licenses in most states within the country that I work within. So, and then of course, I'm a justice of the peace. If you ever need a sick day letter signed off, let me know. And we can deal with that. Now, sometimes throughout my presentations, I talk about data partners. Data partners are people who feed us information to help us gather areas and to, I suppose, analyze areas to see what's going to work and what's not going to work. Say, for example, down the bottom here, hotspotting, we're a premium member of those guys. So we always get into hotspotting areas before a lot of other people, which of course benefits you, our clients. So that's data partners. It's just the information that we use on a regular basis to assess and to work out pockets that are going to work best for each client. Okay, so recycling equity. So let's get started into the juicy part. So recycling equity, I also call it asset recycling. So if I mention recycling equity or asset recycling, I just wanted to let you guys know that's exactly the same thing, but I just call it two different things because I'm getting old and I'm forgetful. So what is recycling equity? It allows you to increase your passive income, which I'm going to show you, pay down your debt faster, accelerate your success, which I believe is a massive thing, and probably the most important thing right now. So everyone out there would knows borrowing capacity is difficult. Someone who I could get, so for example, you can get a loan approval today for $1 million. 5 years ago, we probably could have got you $3 million. So the banks have been quite restrictive in the borrowing capacity. So recycling equity has become a big player in what we're doing with clients when we're doing planning appointments, whether they've been clients for 10 years, 20 years, 1 year. Recycling equity has been a big conversation we have on a regular basis to improve your borrowing capacity. That's a big one for me. Because without borrowing capacity, you can't borrow money, you can't add assets to your portfolio, and you can't continue to grow. All right, so as I mentioned before, it's also called asset recycling. I believe it's actually a critical part of building your portfolio. It's a big thing I do. I do a bit of asset recycling myself. I have foundation properties, which I do not sell, but then I have other properties that I do sell to pay down debt. I'm going to just get a quick summary of how it works. All right, guys. So asset recycling is basically replacing property. So you're taking equity from one property, which in most cases is potentially an older asset you've got, taking that equity and paying down debt, whether it's paying down personal debt, paying down investment debt. At the end of the day, it's about reducing your debt and your risk for your whole portfolio. Now, a lot of guys and girls, have seen my alternate strategy in portfolios. That's where you buy a cash flow property, which offsets a growth property. You put them side by side. So say, for example, here, you've got the cash flow property is $100 a week cash positive. The growth property is $100 a week cash negative, but between the two of them, they're looking after themselves. So there's no actual cash input from yourselves out of your own pocket. Now that's the basic sort of generic strategy we use. So by using that, and if you're looking at recycling equity, for example, what you've done is as that growth property rises in value enough to potentially pay down the debt on the cash flow property, then you own that cash flow property outright. So in this scenario, we sell the growth property and the profits pay down the debt of the cash flow property. That is basically what recycling equity or asset recycling is. It's taking the equity, which for most people, equity does not give you income, it's asset, taking that asset and turning it into income on another property itself. All right, so that's just a bit there. So when you do recycle your equity, you can, of course, pay down the debt of existing cash flow properties, which I just showed you then, free up your borrowing capacity, which I'm going to show you in a minute, and fund it. For some people, it actually does fund the deposits for 2 to 3 high cash flow properties, and of course, pay off your own home mortgage. So some people, I would say with the people I meet, I would say 80 to 90% of people are very focused on paying off your home. 10% aren't. They just, chipping away at that themselves. Obviously, they may have a small mortgage, so it's not a big issue for them. But at the end of the day, paying off your home mortgage can do 2 things. One, it gives you more cash flow basically in your everyday lifestyle, and also does increase your borrowing capacity because your home loan debt, there's no rent to offset, there's no tax deductible or negative gearing benefit in the bank's calculators. So paying off your home mortgage isn't a bad thing. All right. So say, for example, using that strategy I mentioned before, this is a scenario where if you had 6 properties, 3 cash flow, 3 growth properties, you paid them all off by selling off the 3 growth properties, similar to what I just did there before, you can own these properties giving you 40 grand a year cash flow for each one. It's pretty simple to do, guys. It just takes a little bit of time and patience, and of course, the right asset selection. So purchasing the right property. Without asset recycling, your portfolio just won't work as hard as what it could. In some cases, it can stop you achieving your goals or really slow you down and get you into what we call an equity lock. That's where you're just locked in with all this equity asset and just no cash flow coming in. But by recycling the assets and paying down debt, it loosens everything up. You've got more borrowing power, and then you can also, of course, buy different styles of properties, which might be a higher income earner for you. All right, so I'm going to do a lot on the whiteboard today, guys. So I really hope I don't lose you on the whiteboard. But for those of you who don't know, in about 3 to 4 days, this workshop does get uploaded to our YouTube channel, where you can watch it again if you wanted to as well. Or if you do want a link sent to you directly, you can put it in the chat. We'll keep your name next to it. Or you can reach out to us via email or messenger, phone call, whatever you want to do to make sure you do get a copy of this. If you do want to go back through it to see what part of it might affect you. The 3 outcomes you can achieve, I'll call these the top 3 outcomes you can achieve by recycling equity, is increase your borrowing capacity. Like I mentioned before, that's a big thing lately. Unlocking your home from your portfolio. For some people, having your home connected to your portfolio, they don't like it. Me personally, don't care. But for some people, it's a big thing. We very rarely have to do that, but we have had a couple of scenarios we have had to do that. But it's not realistically from a fear perspective. It's more from a freeing up the property so they can move it around, potentially buy something else. But I'll come back to that one. And then, of course, passive income to accelerate your portfolio. That, to me, is the big one. And that does relate directly back to our member portfolio breakdown for you too. So I am going to get stuck into that for you too. But if I do lose you guys, please let me know. Put your hand up, put something in the chat so Jess can remind me to stop talking for a minute, guys, to be honest. So what I'm going to do, guys, I'm going to change my screen and go over to my whiteboard. I do like the whiteboard, so hopefully I can break it down for you in a way that you can understand. If not, reach out. Happy to break it down a different way for you. Just let me change my camera. All righty, I hope you can hear me okay. So the first one I want to chat to you about is increasing your borrowing capacity. This is a big one, because for a lot of people, this is a massive hurdle they're seeing nowadays. So the best way to explain this to you, I've got a couple of these are basically everything we're doing here tonight are real deals, like real member breakdowns. I've pulled them out from what we've done in the last month of what we're able to do for people, but because I needed real figures to work with. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to break it down for you. So over here, this is the scenario for you. Got client, they've got a property. I'm just going to go with the 300K mortgage over here. And I think they're paying around about $2,600 a month in mortgage repayments on this $300,000 property. But this is their home. This is what we call their PPR. So this is their home, right? Now, with these guys, they had two investment properties. They had property number one over here. They had debt of $425,000. They had equity of $325,000. Of course, the value was $750,000. Now, then they also had another property where they had a $570 mortgage, $250 worth of equity in here, and that asset was worth $820,000. So as you can see here, what these guys have got is they've got this repayment here every month, $2,600 per month. They've got two investment properties. Now they've got good equity. They've got good equity here. Oh, that's a two, sorry. They've got good equity in their portfolio already, but they wanted to continue. Now these guys are not, they're just average people. They wanted to keep borrowing to put this together. But what the problem they faced, now this is the issue they faced. Their borrowing capacity, when look at it all, is $1.6 million, right? Now, if you look at all this debt they've currently got, it's about 1.3. So they've only got a borrowing capacity now of $300,000. You're struggling to buy a block of land for $300,000, right? So what we decided to do was recycle the debt, etc. So they sold the properties off. So we sold both properties off. Now, when you do sell, you've got a plan to sell. Don't just sell everything off. Chat to your accountant about capital gains tax and how it's going to affect. So you might sell one last financial year, another one this financial year, etc. But when they sold these properties off, they had a total profit of $575,000, which is this equity basically. I'm only using round numbers, sorry guys too. After capital gains tax though, they had $400,000 left over. So that's cash, tax paid, capital gains tax paid, everything done. So with this $400,000, they were able to pay off their mortgage, get rid of this $2,600 a month as well, remember. And what they were able to do is have $100,000 left over in cash after paying out their mortgage. Now, if you can see what we've done in this mess I've just made is they've sold this, sold that, taken the profit, paid out the debt. They've got 100 grand in cash, but they've got no more debt. They've got no debt left. So what we've done is we've removed all their debt, tax deductible debt, non-tax deductible debt, which is a bit of a killer when you're looking at borrowing capacity. Their borrowing capacity was $1.6 million. But now they own their home, they don't have these in place. Their borrowing capacity, after putting all this together the second time around, is their borrowing capacity now is, what was it again? It was $2.05 million, right? So what they're able to do now is they've got 100K in cash, which for a lot of people, they never have 100K in cash in the bank. Even seen a client last week, they had 270K cash in the bank. They've never seen that much money in the bank before. But that's because they're listening to me in regards to selling property off to free up borrowing capacity. With this just over this $2 million, they can basically now go out and buy 2 to 3 properties quite comfortably. You know what I mean? Within reason, 2 to 3 properties to do it all over again. But without selling these properties off, they were locked into this and outlaying $2,600 a month. So the whole concept of doing this is to take away all the debt, get this debt equity out, pay the tax, pay off the mortgage, which is the great Australian dream at the end of the day, and lift their borrowing capacity. Do they go out and buy 3 properties next week? Probably not. We probably space it out over a period of a year, 18 months to put that together. All right, guys? But that's what we call increasing your borrowing capacity. So that's the first reason why we recycle equity. Now, guys, bear with me. It's going to come back to this. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is releasing your home from your portfolio. So for those of you who don't know, when you go to buy an investment property, for probably 80% of people, they use the equity from their home to go and buy an investment property. So your investment property is secured by your home. So there's two reasons why you unlock that scenario. Is the first reason is you just really hate having your home equity as part of your portfolio. That's the first reason. Not a common reason, but that's one reason. The second reason is you may want to sell your home and go buy another home, and unlocking your home from that just makes it a bit smoother and easier. And in this scenario, that's the reason. They were moving house. They just wanted to unlock their PPR and restart everything once they found the home where they wanted to move to. All right. So what we've got here, these clients, here we go. So with these guys, so this one is unlocking principal place of residence, which is basically your home for most people. All right. So the first thing we did was we've got their home here. Not that it matters what it's worth, but it was worth 1.3 mil. In this scenario, it doesn't really matter. They had $350,000 in debt. Now, you're going to be shocked when I do this one. We did a little bit different. They had the first property they purchased with us, they had a debt of about 390, and it was worth, what was that worth? 750. Sorry, guys, I've got all my numbers over here. There's no way I would remember everything here. Then the second property they had is they owed 715, and that was worth about 800. And then the next property they had, which was quite recent, that was worth 700, and they owed 620,000 on that, right? These are houses. So 700, 800, yeah. So 800, 700. So their property, these properties here, this property here, and that's their home. All right. So what we wanted to do here is unlock their equity. So there's two things we had to do. The first thing was we sold off the oldest property with the most equity. As you can see here, if we sold this property off, that gave us $360,000 profit, right? That was the profit. After capital gains tax, though, let's be realistic. Sorry, guys, hang on. I'm going to get rid of that. It was 360 profit, but what they were left with, because, you know, you get taxed. Tax is fine. Just you pay it. It means you made a profit. 300K. But what they didn't want to do is the whole objective of doing this is to unlock their principal place of residence. So taking this 100, paying it directly off here is not going to do that. So what we had to do is they had these two properties left over here. These were worth 1.5 million combined, and we had to get that to 80%, which was 1.2 million, right? To do that, out of this $300,000, we had to take 115 off this. So we put 115 in here, get this loan to 600, and we just had to take 20 grand off this one to get this also to 600. So we had 600, 600, which got us to the 1.2, 80%, and that enabled us to fully unlock this property. Now, they did have about 165K left over, which they paid off this mortgage. But as you can see, they didn't pay that mortgage out. They just sold one property to unlock their principal place of residence because they wanted to upgrade their home. They wanted to go into a bit of a bigger home. It wasn't a big deal difference in price, but they wanted to borrow a bit extra for that because their family was getting a lot bigger. But as you can see here, there's two things we've done here. We've unlocked the PPR, and we've also increased their borrowing capacity to get their home upgraded as well. So the first one, we just did borrowing capacity. This one, we've unlocked the PPR and increased borrowing power as well, because we've recycled the equity just from this one property. I didn't want them to sell everything to do this. They contemplated selling everything because obviously they've got another 300 grand can pay the mortgage out. But what I said to them is, let's just leave these in place while you find another property. Your worst case is you sell them next financial year to pay down debt, etc., move things around. Because I'm not going to say don't sell them later. I just didn't want them to make their decision of selling everything in the one financial year and just getting paid way too much capital gains tax. Like I mentioned to you before, you have to plan to sell your properties. Very, very important, guys. So that was unlocking your PPR. All right. So before I go too far, I guess, now this is a little bit off topic, a little bit. Before I get to the member breakdown, the proper one we've got here to show you guys for tonight, the biggest thing is when you're recycling equity, what I look at for myself personally, right, is I got to look at, okay, what net income do I need? So say, for example, you want to retire here on $120,000 a year, okay? So what you've got to do is you've got to have enough asset to have that 120 grand a year coming in. What I'm talking about here quickly is actually something I'm going to talk about in a lot more detail next month. It's really what we're discussing through the whole period. But say, for example, you've got over here, you might buy a house, for example, a dual key. For those of you who know what a dual key is, it's a dual income style property. You might buy another house. And then what we call a HMO, which is a multiple occupant property. Now, what you've got to work out is, I want to retire on 120 grand a year. So between all your properties, you have to have 120 grand a year worth of what we call net rent. So net rent is simple. Over here, you might have, say, what are we here with my numbers here? I've got here. So your house and land might be 35K worth of actual rental income. Now, I'm not talking about debt or loan repayments here, guys, just so you know. Take away what we call your fixed expenses. So your fixed expenses are your property management, your council rates, your insurance, things like that. The net rent available, not including debt, not including loan repayments, is 30K. Your dual key style property, your gross income might be 55 with about 7K worth of fixed expenses. So your net rent is 48K. Then say, same thing again with a house, 35 less your 5 gives you 30K. And then with a HMO, which is a high cash flow property, your gross income might be 105. You do have more expenses with a HMO style property, but overall, that's going to give you what we call 80K net. So when I talk about net rent, not including your mortgage, it's what's available if you paid your mortgage out. That's what it's about. So if you want to retire on 120 grand a year, when you look at this here, this one gets 48K, this one gets 80K, right? That's about $128,000, what we call net rent coming in. So when we talk about growth and cash flow, how I mentioned before, putting them side by side, the house and land style properties, we normally nominate for growth because they're normally ones we sell. And once these properties here grow enough in equity, we would sell them off and pay down the debt, sell that off, pay down the debt. So then you'll have a dual key property owned outright, a HMO style property owned outright, and have your retirement income in at 120K. But the difference is you've got to build this portfolio out, working off what your net rent you need to retire on, because you've got to get the asset first and then figure out how to pay it off later. All right. So I'm always about building out your portfolio to where you can get your net rent to where you need it to be. And then let's work on getting that paid off for you. All right, guys. So if you're scared of debt, you just got to make sure, sorry, you bring cash flow properties into it at the same time. Otherwise, you're just going to be forking out the shortfall or yourself, which is not something I recommend. But guys, let me go back to my laptop quick. I just want to break down, just go through this member portfolio breakdown for you. Give me 2 seconds. Okay. Got to share. Sorry, guys, I'm a bit slow. All right. So as you can see, we've got increase your borrowing capacity, unlock your home, your PPR, which we just went through. And now I'm going to go through passive income to accelerate your portfolio. Now, to me, this is what I do. Okay. But just remember, I'm 46 years old. I've been investing since I was 18. So I'm on chapter 28 of my property journey, where a lot of you guys are on chapter 1, chapter 5, chapter 4. So don't feel bad if you can't get to this stage tomorrow, if that makes sense. It takes time to get there. So this is our member portfolio breakdown. But like I mentioned to you, realistically, the 3 of these are all a breakdown, but this one I want to go in a bit more detail. With Ryan and Carly, they've been clients of mine for about 9 years. They had 3 properties in their portfolio and they wanted to keep buying more property, but they, of course, had a maxed out borrowing capacity. Over a 12-month period, we obviously chatted to their accountant, make sure they weren't going to get hammered with capital gains tax. And we recycled their equity, which increased their passive income. But what I'm going to show you on here is with this passive income, we actually that is going to support their portfolio. So not out of their own pockets. This is going to support their portfolio to really accelerate the growth of their asset base over the next couple of years. Okay, guys. But this is using the rent coming in to pay for your portfolio. So say, for example, myself, if I build a property, for example, and there's interest payments through construction that normally we would borrow for, I don't necessarily borrow for that, depends on the entity I buy it in. I just use the positive cash flow from my other assets to pay those payments for me. All right, guys, but this is Ryan and Carly, but I'm going to break it down for you properly. So let's go back to the other screen. All right, here we go. Now I'm going to do this in 2 steps, guys, because there's too much going on to not do that. All right, if I lose you, I do talk fast, I'm sorry, but if I do lose you, let me know. So with these guys, their PPR or their home, now they only had 100K in debt on their mortgage at this point just recently. So with these guys, what we had is they bought a house back in 2016. And that house, what have we got? That house was worth the loan on that house is worth $420,000 and its currently value is about $915,000. Then they bought another house, not a dual key yet. They bought another house in 2018. On that house there, they owed $480,000. And that one there, the value of that was only about $790K, all right? But just quickly, see those two there with the different prices. Sometimes I explain to people buying one property is good, but having more than one asset within a portfolio spread out over different states, different suburbs, etc. One property is going to outperform. You might have one property that doesn't perform as good as what you hoped, but you'll have other ones that outperform, which makes up for that too. So, so you've got 2016, 2018, they're the values in the property itself. This one has 495K worth of equity. This one here has 310K worth of equity. Now, they also bought, in 2020, they bought a dual key property. That one there, they did owe $600,000. Not that it matters, it was worth about $850, but it doesn't matter what this one's worth, to be honest with you. But the main thing here is the rent coming in. So the rent on this one was about $950 per week. All right. Oops. Wait. Sorry, guys. So what we did here, right, is we wanted to do many different things. We wanted to unlock their PPR, increase their borrowing capacity, and also use this rent money here to help grow their portfolio. So what we did was, like everything, we sold these 2 properties off, right? So we recycled this equity here. What's that? How much equity was that total there? I forgot already. Yeah, 805 grand worth of equity, right? So what they did was they had 1705, all right, as far as debt goes. Oh, sorry, I'm totally lost. Sorry, guys, give me 2 secs. Oh, yeah. 1705 was the value of their portfolio. They had 900K in debt. No, I'm totally lost here. Sorry, guys. Hang on a sec. Oh, this is just these 2. Sorry, I'm looking at my numbers wrong. This is just, keep that one separate, guys. 1705 for these 2. We had 900K in debt across these 2 properties. When they sold these properties off, they were left with $805,000 cash, but then they had the old capital gains tax kick in. So they lost 150K of capital gains tax, but it still left them with, what have we got? $655,000, all right? That was their net profit out of these 2 properties. Now, with that $655,000, now this is where I'm going to break it down for you a little bit, is with that 655, they actually paid out this debt over here, right? got rid of that debt. They owned their dual key property outright. They did not pay off their 100K mortgage. They took the other 55 and put it over here in an offset account against their mortgage. So they saved interest over here. The whole reason why they didn't pay their mortgage out is because they wanted to own this property outright. And with a 45K or interest on 45K, it's very, very minimal. It's not a big deal. It was actually very smart the way we ended up working all this out. So what we were left with, right? So actually, I hope I didn't lose you guys with my numbers. I mucked up there, but we sold these two off, paid out that debt, and had 55K left over. That's really the nuts and bolts of it all. So let's just get rid of this. Hang on. This is the important part about this, guys. So what we've done is we've unlocked their PPR. We've increased their borrowing capacity, but now we're going to use this cash flow. So this is totally separate now. They've got their dual key property over here. It's not that it matters what it's worth 100, but it's got 850K, zero debt, but they've got passive income of 950 a week, which were after expenses. Do you know how I talk about fixed expenses? So net rent after expenses, they're clearing about $40,000 per annum. So that's two things. That's $40,000 per year. They never, ever have to work for again. But more exciting for me is that they said, Wayne, we don't want to stop work yet. We want to grow our portfolio further and fully replace our income and do it as quick as we can. So I said, the only way you can really do that is using this $40,000 to support more assets. So what we're going to do with these guys is we're going to go out and rapidly buy property. So say, for example, we go out and buy 3 properties. We're just in the middle of the first one, but once we get the first one in, we're going to lock another one in straight away. Now, any sort of cash injection or ongoing repayments they might need in between a tenant or a certain structure they do, this can be all funded by this $40,000. So their incomes are over here. They're living their life, cash flow, everything's great. This $40,000 is put towards paying for these properties, if there's a shortfall, for example. But sometimes when you're putting a property portfolio together like myself, you might want to manipulate a floor plan slightly. You've got to hold, like at the moment, I'm holding a property where I'm changing the floor plan slightly. It's costing me around $800 a week. It's not costing me $800 a week. It's costing my portfolio $800 a week because my passive cash flow is paying for that while it's all happening. In about 3 or 4 weeks' time when it's finished, of course, the rent will start coming in. Everything could be sweet. But if you didn't have this money, it would have drained you. $800 a week is a lot of money. It will drain your personal finances. So by having this passive income coming in from your portfolio, you can either A, just take it as income, or B, support that to grow your portfolio a lot quicker, guys. So that there is the member portfolio breakdown. So as you can see there, with a 40 grand a year passive income coming in, they're going to be able to grow their portfolio with a lot of comfort, knowing that they've got money coming in every single week from their portfolio to help fund it. And their mortgage is quite minimal anyway over here, to be honest with you. So, and to a certain degree, they're going to have that gone, or at least the money offset within the next 12 months anyway. So it's not a big deal. But once this money starts to come in, there's no other better feeling than knowing that that money's coming every month without fail, and it's potentially, realistically, there for the rest of your life. All right, guys. So that's where I want to get all my clients to at the end of the day. All righty, I'm back. All righty, guys. So just wanted to, all right. So that's everything we're talking about tonight, guys. So recycling equity is a big one. Next, if you remember, next month, I'm going to break that down into the next level of, okay, you can recycle equity, you can do this, you can do that, but how much do I need? How do I work out how much money I need? And that's going to depend on your age, your debts, kids, all that sort of stuff put together. And I'm going to go through the spreadsheet I do for myself and just break down for you how I actually calculate that out. So I think we're almost done, guys. I'm just going to share my screen. Hang on a sec. All right. It's question time, I guess. Yeah. So does anyone have any questions at this point? Whack them in the chat or into the Q&A section. Or you can, if you want as well, you can send them directly to us if you don't want your name shown up on that, which I think Jess has a
we've got a couple.
Yeah, got a couple, yeah.
Yeah, I've had a couple
away, Jess.
through. Yeah, just while you were doing the member breakdown, there was a couple, some relating to earlier stuff as well. So I'll just run through, there's a few.
Yep.
So how can you replace the property with another for a similar price? Was the first
Well,
question.
you normally have to go to a different area. So say, for
Okay.
example, you bought a place for 600, you're selling it for 900, you're not going to be able to replace it in that same suburb. But
Yeah.
there's always new areas that have the similar scenarios as far as growth. You just got to go further afield from yourself. So if you were used to buying within a 50K radius of where you live, which is great if it all works, but there comes a point where you can't anymore. It just becomes unrealistic and you've got to go further afield.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Something I guess which we did chat a little bit about tonight as well. Capital gains tax. Someone's asked, is capital gains tax a lot when you're selling?
It can be. The best thing to say with capital gains tax is, from my perspective, if you're making a capital gain and you're paying the tax, that's okay because you've made a profit, right?
Yeah.
But you need to limit that. So you need to chat to someone about limiting your capital gains tax liability before you sell. Because sometimes splitting across financial years, if you've got more than one property, waiting a month, like just for some people, just say, say, for example, in June, they wanted to sell their assets off. We held them back till July, purely on the basis of we had more time to work out if we needed to reduce their income, or even the capital gains tax bill isn't due till, say, for example, if you sell your property this financial year being 2024, you most likely don't have to pay that capital gains tax bill till March 2026.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you wanted to do with that gain through that period. But of course, there is always other strategies where buying other assets in the same financial year as selling an asset can also bring in more depreciation to limit the capital gains tax. But it can be a lot. But if you're paying a ton of capital gains tax, it means you've made a lot more money.
Yeah. It's all relative, I guess.
Yes.
And then I guess these couple are in relation to the member breakdown. So you talked about in previous, I think there must be previous seminars. You've talked about buying in companies or super funds. How did these clients buy theirs?
Everything I showed you tonight, all those clients bought in their personal names in this scenario. So yeah. Like obviously with capital gains tax and etc., if you're buying it in a super fund or in a company, it's a bit different. As in companies is normally a flat 30%, super funds at the moment it's 10%, so it's not so bad. But the thing is, with a super fund, for example, in a company, you don't get that 50% tax-free portion if you held it more than 12 months. So, but with these guys, it was all held more than 12 months and it was all done in their personal names.
Okay, yeah. And the last one, the passive income that they're making, do they pay income tax on the passive income?
Yes. So there's upsides and downsides to passive income. Sorry, I don't believe there's a downside, but upside is, he's coming in every month. But same thing again, if you have the right strategy in place, you will limit how much tax you pay on that 40K. Because with that 40K, if it was like a couple and it was in 50-50 names for both partners, what you've got is 20 grand of that is both. If it was 40 grand passive income, 20 grand each is gonna go towards and added to your taxable income. So, but if that client, like for example here with Carly and Ryan, with these guys, because they were adding more assets to them, we were able to offset some of that 40K passive income with some depreciation as well, which was good. That's what you got to do. You can't just cop it, basically. You really got to try hard. I'm massive. I read tax law. I assess tax law. I am quite in depth with that because it's such a factor with my own portfolio and also clients. I'm not an accountant whatsoever, but I do read and study tax law because it can impact me personally for sure. So
yeah, no, that's awesome. That was all the questions that were sent through.
All right. Now, if you've got more questions, guys, feel free to reach out. Is there anyone else with any questions at the moment? I'll just click through a bit. If you get a question, you've got a couple more minutes left there, guys. Like I mentioned before about general advice, this is very similar where your results are going to depend on your own goals and circumstances. So it's going to vary between each person. All right. We can help you though. So if you do, like I mentioned before with that 15-minute link, if you do want to reach out to us, if you are new to me, and you want to have a bit more of a chat, jump on that 15-minute link and book in a call. Like I mentioned before, next month's workshop, we're going to go into a lot more detail with understanding income replacement. The whole idea of this next seminar, workshop / scenario is I just want to teach everyone really about understanding how they can replace their income and share my knowledge on how I assess it, so that it may not be for you, it may not work for you, but feel free to jump on and see how you go and see if you can work it out for yourself as well. All righty, guys. But I think that's about all we got for today. It is. Yep. Hang on. Oh, there we go. I think I'm back. All right, guys. But I really appreciate you watching tonight. If you do want a copy of this, don't forget, by another week, it should be on our YouTube channel. If you don't see it or can't find it, send us an email or a message and we can get the copy to you. And then, yeah, see how we go from there, guys. But I really appreciate your time tonight and I look forward to chatting to you next month. If you need me, give us a shout out and have a great end of the week.
See you guys.
See you later.